BitMonger family. Today we're going to be looking at Solana and why I'm so bullish on this project. As you know, it is my favorite layer one coin, and for a good reason. And today I'm going to be just going into why I am so bullish on this project. So the first thing I want to look at is I want to compare it to its number one competitor, which is Ethereum, which is a legacy coin. It is very slow and it can't scale, and which is very different from Solana. Solana is extremely fast and settles quickly. Ethereum is the only way it's going to scale is being used by layer twos, which makes it more defragmented. So ultimately, I believe when Wall Street figures that out, they will be going to more of a monolithic chain that doesn't require these layer twos to scale, which is going to be Solana. So with that noted, let's take a look at Ethereum. Current market cap on Ethereum is 311 billion, coming in at number 2 on the market cap of all crypto. And it's been there forever, not forever, but for many years. And the next one, Solana, it's coming in at the 6th largest market cap at 81 billion. So we got a huge difference. I did the math, and just for the sake of it, without doing the calculations here, I can tell you right now, Solana is only 26% the size of Ethereum. So it's got a huge, massive room to grow. The next thing is this. Take a look at this. Here I'm looking at the daily top 10 chains by total transaction in June 2025. Solana did a whopping 2.98 billion, call it 3 billion in total transactions. Now, you have these other chains here, nothing even comes close. And here on the very bottom, we got Ethereum with 41.8 million, call it 42 million. That's roughly 70 times. Solana is doing roughly 70 times more the transactional volume than Ethereum. Let that sink in for a bit. 70 times more transactions in volume, in value, is being done on Solana. Now, granted, Base is a layer 2 of Ethereum, so is Arbitrum, okay? But even still, you add those together, it still is just a shadow of what Solana is doing. So the way you look at the value, or how I value blockchains, and in particular layer ones, is, how much transactions is it doing? How many people are using it? Let's face it, if it's not being used, if it's not, being used by people and moving money, transactions across it, well then, it's not that valuable. So the more transactions it's doing, in logic, it should be valued more. The other thing is you need to look at developers and where are developers going. And I can tell you, I don't have the chart right here, but you can take my word for it. Developers have been moving over to Solana in a big way. Okay. So there we have it. We can see the amount of total transactions in June of 2025 across all these blockchains. Solana is absolutely killing it. Next thing is I want to be looking at is, I mentioned in a previous video about how they were trying to pass the Genius Act. It did get passed by the Senate, but it is now being stuck in the House. So if you're familiar with the way laws are developed in the United States, they go through the Senate, get passed down to the House, that gets approved, goes to the president, he signs it, goes into law. So I asked, and you can see, I just explained how that works. It's in the House currently, but the House is considering, like we can see right here, the House is considering its own version of the bill, the Stable Act. and it's a reconciliation process is expected to merge the two bills before the final passage. Now, this is going to get passed most likely, and this is the reason why. There's two main stable coins, US dollar tether and USDC. Those are the two big monsters. US dollar tether, the way these stable coins work is they're backed 1-to-1 by dollars along with US treasuries. So right now, US dollar tether, it's the largest stable coin, is not inside the United States. I think it's based in the Bahamas. And the way they back their stablecoin is by buying U.S. treasuries. And they have been one of the largest buyers of U.S. treasuries globally. I mean, they've surpassed Germany. And the government likes this. The government likes it that, the big, beautiful bill just passed. We're about to add $4 trillion onto our debt in the United States. So anything that buys U.S. treasuries, any company, any government, any entity that's buying U.S. treasuries is a net positive in the eyes of the U.S. government. They like that a lot. They like it a whole lot. So this is going to pass. Another reason why they want it to pass is we are going into the digital era. It's already been here, but it's accelerating. We're going into what's called Web 3. And Web 3 is the new version of the internet. It is essentially the financial side of internet. The current banking system is antiquated. SWIFT systems, the way they move money around, is absolutely antiquated. And crypto and stablecoins are going to change that. And the reason why they like this stablecoin, this is going to pass, is the US dollar is the global reserve currency. They're going to want that to hold its place in the digital economy as we move forward. They're going to want everybody using stablecoins that are based on the US dollar. So those are the two big reasons why the US government is going to pass this act, buying treasuries and then continuing US dollar dominance into the new digital era of Web 3. So the biggest issue of USDC is Circle. And Circle recently went public. Let's take a look here. So Circle went public. They did an IPO. And if you invested in that, you made a ton of money. Wall Street loves it. So I asked the question, what percent of, how much has Circle been mining? How much have they minted of USDC on the Solana blockchain? And you can see in July 2025, Circle minted an additional 250 million USDC on the Solana blockchain, bringing the total amount of USDC minted on Solana in 2025 to $6 billion. A huge amount, massive. Look at this. The total USDC supply on Solana has increased significantly with a 146% increase since the beginning of the year. Boom. If that is not showing you massive interest and adoption by Circle, I don't know what is. And Circle is connected to the big heavyweights on Wall Street. And I'll be looking at that in a second. So the next thing. So we can see Circle has minted $6 billion worth of USDC on Solana. So what have they done on Ethereum? Let's take a look at that. So in May 2025, Circle minted 283 million on USDC on the Ethereum blockchain. Okay. And another in May, they minted another 100 million USDC on Ethereum. This brings the total USDC minted on Ethereum by Circle in 2025, based on the provided information, to 383 million. So we have 383 million compared to 6 billion. You don't need to be a genius to see which one they're interested in and which one they're planning to be using, okay? I think it's pretty obvious. Now, and the reason why, again, as I said, Solana is much faster. It has milliseconds in finality, and it is, and they're going to need that for fast transactions with quick finality. Ethereum is just is old and clunky. It just can't do it. Next, So I want to know what companies are connected with Circle that's minting all this USDC. Remember, the U.S. government is going to give the nod to Circle and USDC when it comes to doing this because it's inside the United States. So what companies are connected to Circle? Circle, the issuer of the USDC stablecoin, has established significant partnerships with major Wall Street firms, particularly around its recent IPO. Key players include JPMorgan, Citigroup, and Goldman Sachs, who served as lead underwriters for the offering. Okay, it's a who's who of massive banking players in the United States. JPMorgan, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, anybody who knows about finance and banking knows these guys are just big. These are the big boys, super deep pockets. Then it mentions some of these other companies that are also involved in it. Okay, mentions the partnerships are growing. Look at this last sentence. These partnerships indicate growing acceptance of the blockchain-based financial instruments with traditional finance and signal confidence in Circle's role in the digital economy. Boom, the digital economy. And that is where we are heading if it isn't obvious already. Okay, Web3, digital economy on Solana. Check. Next. All right, let me look at this one. So Solana, as I mentioned in a previous video earlier, I believe if Bitcoin's the North Star of all crypto. If it goes up, other coins go up as well. So as long as Bitcoin continues to remain strong, I suspect Solana will go along with it. However, if Bitcoin has a pullback, the pullback levels that I would be looking at on Solana to be purchasing is going to be between 140, like right around 140 to 142. Okay, 140, 142 are going to be areas of interest that I'm going to be looking at acquiring some more of. And if the market pukes even more and we have a big push down to the 0.618 fib level on this retracement, we could see it getting down to 130 and change, 130 and a half. So anywhere between 130 and 131. Now, there's a possibility Trump just delayed the tariffs again, so there's a possibility that the markets could climb up some more. I do suspect some sort of pullback eventually on the S&P 500. Where is that spot? Here we go. Let's take a look at this. So here's the S&P 500. We can see since the crazy tariff day where Trump came out and mentioned that he was going to be tariffing everybody 100% and the market puked. Since then, we've had a massive V-shaped recovery. It has actually broken above its previous all-time highs and is continuing to move up. With this delay on the tariff news, we could see it come up some more. But looking at how much is moving up, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 5% correction, sometime in the near future. Here in this blue zone that I listed on this chart here, you can see where it might come back into this zone if we see a recent a pullback in the near term. All right. Hope you all have enjoyed the show. I hope you guys take a look at Solana. Again, nothing that I say here is financial advice. I'm just a guy on the internet. This is what I'm doing. You decide what you want to do, and monger on.